You might be making 6 figures a year right now, but if your bank account hits zero every single month before your next paycheck arrives, you are stuck in a trap that has nothing to do with your salary. Making money is a skill, but keeping money is a completely different psychological battle that most men are losing without even realizing it. Most people think being broke is just a lack of cash, but it is actually a way of thinking that survives even when you start making the big bucks. I have seen guys who pull in $10,000 a month living exactly like the guy making $2,000, just with shinier toys and more stress. They are running on a treadmill that never stops, and the faster they go, the more tired they get. In this video, we are going to look at the invisible mental walls that keep you poor, the weird reason your brain sabotages your savings, and the exact steps you need to take to break the cycle before you spend your entire life working for nothing. By the end of this, you will see exactly where your money is leaking and why your brain is tricking you into staying broke. We have all heard the stories about lottery winners who win $50 million and end up working at a gas station 5 years later. Or the professional athletes who sign $40 million contracts and then declare bankruptcy shortly after they retire. You might think that would never happen to you, but the same software running in their heads is probably running in yours too. The poverty mindset is like a thermostat. If your internal thermostat is set to broke, anytime you get extra money, your brain will find a way to heat things up and spend it until you are back to your comfortable level of having nothing. This happens because of something called lifestyle creep. Imagine a guy named Mike. Mike gets a promotion at his job and starts making an extra $2,000 a month. On the day he gets the news, he feels rich. But within 30 days, Mike has a new car lease that costs $800. He starts eating at nicer restaurants and he upgrades his gym membership. 2 months later, Mike is stressed about money again. He's making more than ever, but he feels just as poor as he did when he was an intern. Mike is trapped because he views money as something to be traded for stuff rather than a tool to build freedom. If you see $100 and immediately think about what you can buy with it, you have a poverty mindset. A wealth mindset looks at $100 and asks how that money can grow into $200. Our brains are still wired for the Stone Age. Back then, if you found a bunch of fruit or a large animal, you had to eat it right away because it would rot. Saving for the future didn't exist because there were no refrigerators. This consume it now instinct is still inside us. For many men, having a high balance in a savings account actually feels uncomfortable. It feels like wasted potential. You see that $5,000 sitting there and you start thinking about that new computer, those new shoes, or a trip you want to take. There is also a social pressure that hits men especially hard. We often use our spending to signal our status to other people. We want the world to know we are doing well, so we buy the things that successful men are supposed to have. We buy the watch, the truck, and the expensive rounds of drinks at the bar. But here is the reality. The people you are trying to impress are usually just as broke as you are, or they don't actually care. You're spending real hours of your life to buy fake respect from people who aren't even looking. This need for validation is a massive hole in your bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it will always leak out if you're trying to fill the ego of everyone around you. A lot of men stay broke because they grew up in houses where money was a source of fighting and fear. If you grew up seeing your parents stress over the electric bill, you might have developed a subconscious belief that money is bad or that it never lasts. Some guys feel a weird sense of guilt when they start making more than their parents did. They might subconsciously sabotage themselves by overspending or making bad investments just to get back to a level that feels familiar. Think about the burning a hole in your pocket feeling. That is a real psychological response to scarcity. When you aren't sure if money will be there tomorrow, your instinct is to spend it today so you can at least enjoy it while it's here. But in the modern world, this is a recipe for disaster. This mindset prevents you from ever building a safety net. You become a slave to your job because you can't afford to miss even 1 week of work. You are essentially living in a golden cage. The bars are made of expensive things, but you are still trapped. The biggest tool the poverty mindset uses to keep you down is debt. We live in a world that wants you to buy things you can't afford with money you haven't earned to impress people you don't like. Credit cards and buy now, pay later apps are designed to disconnect the joy of buying from the pain of paying. When you swipe a card, your brain doesn't register that you are giving away a piece of your future. To break this, you have to stop looking at monthly payments and start looking at the total cost. A car isn't $500 a month, it's $35,000 plus interest. When you view things in their total value, they start to look a lot less attractive. Men who escape the poverty trap understand that debt is a tax on their future self. Every dollar you pay in interest is a dollar you could have used to buy your freedom. You have to get to a point where you hate debt more than you like stuff. This means driving the older car for a few more years or saying no to the guys when they want to go on an expensive trip that you know you can't actually afford. It's about having the discipline to be uncool for a little while so you can be wealthy for the rest of your life. The shift begins when you stop identifying as a consumer and start identifying as an investor. This doesn't mean you need to be a stock market genius. It just means you change your relationship with every dollar that enters your hand. Instead of seeing a dollar as a snack or a coffee, see it as a little soldier. Your job is to put those soldiers to work so they can go out and bring back more soldiers. Start by creating a gap between what you earn and what you spend. If you make $5,000, try to live like you make $4,000. That $1,000 difference is your ticket out of the trap. This requires a high level of self-awareness. You have to watch your own behavior. When you feel that urge to buy something impulsive, stop and ask yourself, am I buying this because I need it or because I want a quick hit of dopamine? Most of the time, it's the dopamine. If you can wait 48 hours before buying anything over $100, you will find that half the time you don't even want the item anymore. The real turning point happens when your investments or savings start making enough money to cover your basic needs. This is the moment the trap snaps open. When you realize that you no longer have to work every single second just to stay alive, your entire perspective on life changes. You stop being desperate. You start making better decisions at work because you aren't afraid of being fired. You carry yourself differently. This is true confidence, and it doesn't come from a designer belt or a fast car. It comes from the security of knowing you are in control of your life. Wealthy men aren't always the ones in the loudest suits. Often, the wealthiest guy in the room is the one in the plain t-shirt who owns his time and his peace of mind. To get there, you have to kill the part of you that cares about looking rich. You have to be okay with being misunderstood by people who are still stuck in the trap. You're playing a long game, while everyone else is playing a game of who can look the coolest this weekend. Escaping the poverty mindset trap is a three-step process. First, you have to recognize that your current spending habits are a result of your psychology, not your income. Second, you have to aggressively cut the status spending that is bleeding you dry. Third, you must start seeing money as a tool for freedom rather than a ticket for consumption. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how hard that money works for you. Stop letting your prehistoric brain and your social ego run your bank account. Take control, build your wall of financial security, and stop running on that treadmill. If you want to know the specific habits that the top 1% use to grow their wealth while everyone else is struggling, you need to watch this next video right here.